Take my word for it. I live there. Come to Florida. Get pre-approved right now with my guy Michael Kotze. Call him at 561-441-2730. He's got Choice Mortgage and a great real estate team. Get pre-approved right now. Michael Kotze, 561-441-2730. Buy in Florida right now. Don't wait. Save money on state taxes. Make your move today with Choice Mortgage. Trust me, Florida is waiting. This guy's so good, he did my commercials in Florida too. Mike Kotze, 561-441-2730. A ride.
This episode is brought to you by McAfee.
Swimsuit, passport, phone, with VPN activated.
VPN?
Cell phone service is going to be spotty on vacation, so we'll be using public Wi-Fi.
Sounds sketchy.
Exactly. The networks can leave your personal info, like credit card numbers, exposed to hackers.
McAfee's secure VPN lets you browse and bank safely from wherever, whenever. Learn more at McAfee.com/online protection.
The Roger Stone Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back. The New York Times tells us breathlessly that Secretary of State Marco Rubio, in his hardline anti-communist policy on Venezuela, dreams of taking down the brutal regime in Cuba. This is why I like Marco Rubio. We'll talk about that later, and talk about the problems that Marco Rubio faces, not just in Venezuela, but also now in Honduras and, of course, in Cuba. Also, the Chinese are on the move in all of the CARICOM, the small Caribbean nations. Chinese money and influence is entering almost all of those countries. That is yet another issue Marco Rubio has to deal with. But every once in a while, I like to get on somebody who is a thinker, somebody who kind of gets the big picture, understands the treachery of the deep state, understands the mass media and how it moves, understands the courts and how they cheat. And that's when I go looking for Rod Martin. You can find him at rodmartin.org. He writes the Rod Martin Report. He is a technological genius, an entrepreneur, a venture capitalist, a conservative, an investor, a futurist, a thinker above all, a thinker. If you don't subscribe to the Rod Martin Report, I highly recommend it to you. Rod, thank you for joining us today on the Roger Stone Show.
Great to be here.
Rod, I don't know if you've been able to listen to the show, but I was talking about the tyranny of these federal judges, the continued cover-up of the crimes of Comey, Brennan, Rice, Clapper, Biden, Obama, Mueller, Weissman, and others. Now, a stunning new story that CIA Director Gina Haspel, John Durham himself, the special counsel, and John Bolton were all told that the underlying Steele dossier, which was used to frame Trump, was not up to, that had been created, that it had no credibility, but they failed to tell Donald Trump. But you have an amazing piece. I'm just going to lead you into this. It's a deep dive, how the deep state subverts the Constitution and how we beat it. You begin very thoughtfully saying there's no reason so many policies never seem to change no matter who wins an election. Presidents come and go. As you correctly point out, Congress changes hands, yet the machinery of government grinds on untouched, unbothered, largely unaccountable. Federal agents issue thousands of new rules governing everything, including our businesses and our lives. And you say there's a way to fix this. My friend, you have the floor.
Well, I have to say there are 537 federal elected officials. There are just under 5,000 federal political appointees, appointed mostly by the president, Senate confirmable to a large degree. And there are nearly 3 million federal employees actually making and executing policy all day, every day. So, of course, nothing really changes. Those people are careerists. They're there for the long haul. And this is all by design. This began in the Roosevelt administration, Franklin, not Teddy. And for 90 years, we have had the results of that, which are, plain and simple, a shadow one-party government. And that too was by design. Roosevelt didn't mind having independent agencies. He thought Humphrey's executor, which was just argued before the Supreme Court on Monday, he thought Humphrey's executor was rightly decided in 1935. Why would he care? Because he was creating all these agencies and he was staffing them entirely with Democrats. And then those people hire their successors. So we've had this shadow government, this deep state for most of a century, nearly an entire century, and we're starting to chip away at it. And the only man who has ever meaningfully chipped away at it is, in fact, Donald Trump. So thank you, Roger, for encouraging him to run for president, because he turns out to be one of the most consequential presidents of all time.
He's a phenomenon. He's a force of nature. He's his own man. I'm a supporter of Susie Wiles. I have known her for 25 years. She takes some heat from many, sometimes taking the blame for things that are not her fault or that she's not responsible for, other times for assorted jealousies. But I think she does an amazing job for this president. This president trusts her. I've known her for 25 years. She and I did the Reagan campaign together. She worked for Jack Kemp against George H.W. Bush. She worked for Donald Trump rather than working for Jeb Bush or Marco Rubio, both of whom tried to hire her. She very ably guided Rick Scott, an outsider, to the U.S. Senate. She extraordinarily was able to land the Ron DeSantis ship, despite the fact that he was a terrible candidate who wouldn't look people in the eyes and would not seek to learn anything about state issues. So how do we take on this model? Because you're right, Harry Truman signs the CIA into law in he dissolves the OSS, the original surveillance system, intelligence system. He does away with the OSS, and in 1947, he signs into law the existence of the CIA. By 1963, when Kennedy is assassinated, he actually writes an op-ed piece for the Washington Post. This is a former president of the United States that says that he now realizes that the agency has gone rogue, essentially, and that he should never have signed into law, and that they're violating their international only charter, meaning they're operating politically and as spies and to undermine the government in our own country. So that is not been revealed. How do we fix this, Rod? How do we fix it?
Well, you've just laid out the key point, which is that it's multifaceted. There are so many different details to it that most people their eyes glaze over. They just can't keep up with it. Donald Trump is not that guy. He is shockingly capable of seeing all of the pieces on the board. So one of the things that we have to do immediately is the Supreme Court needs to overturn Humphrey's executor, which of course created this abomination, this absolutely unconstitutional monster of independent agencies. There is no such creature in our system. You have an elected legislature. You have an elected executive. You have an appointed judiciary that is confirmed by an elected legislature after being appointed by an elected president. All of these things exist. An independent agency is an attempt to reestablish the kind of aristocracy we had a revolution against. It's just horrifying. And you heard Justice Brown sit up there and say at length that she did not think that we should have any ability through elected office holders to remove PhDs and engineers and experts of various sorts from the government, that they had to be left alone to act. Well, fortunately, I'm pretty sure there are 6 votes against that position, but she's saying that there should be an aristocracy created by leftist-controlled institutions like Harvard and Stanford who mint supposedly expert people, certainly credentialed people, and then they go into government and they rule us for our own good. That's just horrifying. So getting rid of Humphrey's executor is a big step forward. it allows the president to actually hire and fire. That's a very, very big deal. The president can't possibly exercise executive power if he can't hire and fire. And once he can, he's in a position to start reining in that bureaucracy. So that's one thing. But you're right to point out the surveillance state. This has been just off the chart, and it's multivariate also. We saw that when Elon and the president shut down USAID. The week that USAID shut down, Politico missed payroll for the only time in its history. That's not an accident. They have been funneling money through these various agencies to influence American politics for a very long time, as you know better than most. And the truth of the matter is, if you train an intelligence apparatus to overthrow governments, you shouldn't be surprised when they come do it at home.
Yeah, it is. There's no question that Dwight Eisenhower was right when he left power. He tried to warn us about the accumulated power of the military-industrial complex, what we would now see as the deep state. This is unelected bureaucrats and academics and others who run our agencies of government, are deeply embedded in the Justice Department, in the Department of War, in the State Department particularly, but in all facets of government, who answer to no one, particularly in our judiciary. And I think these are the people who ultimately, as you know, I believe they orchestrated the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, because he stood in the way of the New World Order and record war profits. And he was actually looking for ways to make peace and not go to war with Russia and Cuba. I believe these are the same people who took Richard Nixon out when he threatened to rein in the power of the national security apparatus. And now, yet again, no one in our current Justice Department, no one in the Republican majority in the Senate, and no one in the House will do anything about it. It is really extraordinary. And if you look at the swiftness in which I was charged, and General Flynn was charged, and Donald Trump was charged, all on fabricated evidence and on false politically motivated premises, and you see the outrage that's in the declassified documents valiantly released by Tulsi Gabbard, and several tranches of them, you see a very deep conspiracy and the admission of a coup d'etat. Yet, will any of these people be held accountable? Rod, your view.
Well, I understand that Tulsi is needed at DNI, but there are days when I wish she were the Attorney General, because she clearly nailed it, and she said it in no uncertain terms, no pulling punches. This was an attempted coup. It was ultimately successful in the course of 2020, but, the idea was to force him either to resign or be impeached in the first 6 months. And they hamstrung his presidency. Only someone with the tenacity of Donald Trump, and I don't know of any others, could have possibly survived what they did to him in 2017 and after. And so, I don't know why the Justice Department is moving as slowly as it is on some of these cases. I do understand some of the problems they're up against, as we saw in the Eastern District of Virginia with the 2 indictments that have been messed with by a liberal Clinton appointee judge. But some of this stuff can be addressed if Kash Patel is successful in bringing this grand conspiracy case against everybody who was involved in that coup attempt. That is really the game changer if they can bring it to a head, because that should be tried in the Southern District of Florida. That gives them venue where they can get a decent judge, they can get an impartial jury, and they can actually breach the statute of limitations wall and get back to some of the worst crimes that took place, especially in 2016. All of that is beyond the ability to act upon in Northern Virginia or in the District of Columbia. But this grand conspiracy theory is actually quite impressive. It's a good bit of legal work. And I hope that Cash is able to bring it to fruition.
I think it is crucial because there is one continuing conspiracy born in the White House, used to create the Russian collusion hoax, deeply involved in the fraud of the 2020 election, also the author of 2 phony impeachments, later the architects of the Jack Smith witch hunt, as well as the Mueller witch hunt, an extra-constitutional exercise called Arctic Frost, which we'll talk about when we come back. You're absolutely right. We'll be back with Rod Martin. Get him over at rodmartin.org. He is a thinker and a gentleman and scholar, but above all, he loves justice. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Roger Stone Show. Later in the show, former Honduran President Juan Orlando Hernandez, viciously framed by the Biden Justice Department, wrongfully convicted as a drug trafficker in a politically motivated and an extraordinarily flimsy case, joins us to talk about why he both deserved this pardon and what the forces now of repression are trying to do in Honduras. But Rod, I want to go to a larger issue. The president said during the campaign that he would end the war between Russia and Ukraine quickly. That has proved elusive. As you know, you have to play 3-card Monte here. There's the Russians, there's the Ukraine, and then there's NATO. Break this down for us, please.
The biggest problem in coming to a peace deal in Russia is that Putin overpromised very badly to his own oligarchs. And as long as he's still in the war, he has a chance at victory, which keeps him moderately safe in the Kremlin. But at some point, he has to admit that he was defeated. And the truth is, he was defeated. There's no escaping. He was trying to take Kiev in 3 days. He was trying to capture the country and bring about regime change to reverse the color revolution in 2014, and all of that has failed. And they haven't been able to meaningfully move the front line all of this year. It's just an awful war of attrition. It's killing all these people, but Putin is worried about him getting killed. So Donald Trump has to craft a deal that is sufficiently attractive to all the parties involved, including the individual parties, to be able to bring this to a successful conclusion. I do believe he will. I believe it's in the interest of both countries to come to a peace. We just have to find the terms that make that possible. And the chief among those has to be meaningful security guarantees for Ukraine, short of allowing it into NATO, because from the Russian perspective, if it's a member of NATO, that effectively puts a German army in Kharkov, 2 days march from Red Square. That reverses the outcome of World War II. They will never accept it.
Yes, and it would be a violation of the Budapest Memorandum, which was signed on behalf of the United States by Secretary of State James A. Baker, signing for George H.W. Bush, and the later Minsk Accords, both of which we agreed not to push Ukraine into NATO, which, of course, is what Joe Biden has ultimately done. That has long been the plan. That said, time is running out for Zelensky. $100 million scandal by one of his closest aides. We both know this scratches the surface and the enormous grifting that's going on with federal funds. Much of those funds do return to the United States and go into the hands of the defense contractors for whom war is good, creating some jobs here, but a lot of money here for people who sell bombs. But if you believe Elon Musk, Congressman Tim Burchett, some of those funds have also made their way back into the pockets of political leaders in the Congress who have supported these multi-million-dollar gambits. Do you think, Rod, that we haven't seen documentation of that? Do you think that is a possibility?
I think it's a very strong possibility. There's no good excuse for Hunter Biden to be on the board of Burisma. That's just nonsense. Good point. Absolutely no qualifications for that. Why would you go to another country across an ocean to pick a guy who, just happens to be the son of the guy you think might be president someday? And, we've got countless examples like that in American political life, principally on the left, but some of our rhinos too, where the children have some lucrative financial deal either with the Ukrainians or with the Chinese communists. And Peter Schweitzer has done a great job of lining that out in one or two of his books. He'd be a good interview too. But this is just a real problem we're facing, and I think it's part of what you're going to see when you talk to Juan Orlando, because the truth is the Democrats are in bed with the cartels too.
It is a massive problem we're going to talk about when we get back. Folks, Rod Martin, entrepreneur, thinker, conservative, gentleman, an expert on technology, biotech, aerospace, energy. Go to rodmartin.org and subscribe now. We'll be right back.
Thanks for listening to The Roger Stone Show. You can hear The Roger Stone Show Sunday afternoons at 3. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder,
what the heck is going on here?
Looking for financial insights you can trust?
How do you protect yourself as an investor? What's the strategy?
I think it's really simple. I think you just want to be diversified in your portfolio.
The Payne family brings real-world experience to every conversation.
Well, I think that's the problem right now is, right, a lot of people that are close to retirement, they're taking so much risks. And if we do get a big sell-off, it could derail their retirement.
Listen to the Payne Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here for Mint Mobile. You know, one of the perks about having 4 kids that you know about is actually getting a direct line to the big man up north. Mm-hmm. And this year, he wants you to know the best gift that you can give someone is the gift of Mint Mobile's unlimited wireless for $15 a month. Now, you don't even need to wrap it. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.